Today, the House is expected to pass a debt ceiling extension bill. The Senate approved the measure last week, days before the U.S. was set to spiral into an economic crisis. The extension temporarily raises the debt limit by $480 billion, but lawmakers will be faced with another deadline come December 3rd when the extension expires. Meanwhile, progressive and moderate Democrats are still trying to figure out what concessions to make on President Biden's massive social spending bill. It's not clear what provisions will make it into the final bill, but the universal child care, expansions to Medicare, and huge investments in clean energy could all be included. So for more on this, let's bring in Nikole Killion. She's joining us from the Hill now to talk about it. So Nikole, what will happen once House makers pass that debt ceiling extension?
Well, basically, it just buys them a little more time to find a longer-term fix. Obviously, this is just a temporary extension of the debt ceiling. We'll raise it by approximately $480 billion, and that will allow the U.S. to pay its bills through approximately December 3rd, although some believe it could go a little longer, maybe until early next year. Either way, it's not a whole lot of time, and once again, this will result in yet another standoff between Democrats and Republicans over this issue of the debt limit and the debt ceiling. You recall right before this deal was reached and the Senate voted on it last week, Republicans and Democrats were really at odds, with Republicans refusing to go along with Democrats in trying to address the debt limit because they feel that Democrats want to spend all this money with, these major infrastructure bills. And so therefore, they said they weren't going to assist. And that, again, is the message that we're hearing from Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who has sent a letter to President Biden, in essence, saying that same thing. They did, reach a compromise and they allowed this temporary extension to go through. But Leader McConnell is now warning President Biden, hey, we helped you out this time. We're not going to help you out the next time. So you guys need to figure it out. So basically, Democrats have to figure out what they're going to do next. Ideally, they want any type of debt limit vote to be bipartisan, but you could see how difficult it was just to get this narrow compromise to extend the debt ceiling for about 2 months. So, Democrats really have to figure out, are they going to go it alone? Will they include this in their broader, social spending or reconciliation package? And so those are the types of calculations they'll have to try to figure out in the coming weeks.
Well, speaking of the broader package, the infrastructure package and the domestic agenda, that is also on the docket after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi meets with the Pope. She sent out a Dear Colleague letter where she urged action on Biden's agenda. Where do talks stand on this now?
Well, at this point, I think the speaker was trying to send a strong signal to members. We can't really deliberate too much longer on this. I mean, at the end of the day, lawmakers have set a deadline for the end of this month to at least try to have some type of deal or agreement in hand with respect to this larger social spending package. And, at last check, it was coming in at approximately $3.5 trillion. But, the speaker has made clear that they're going to have to pare that down. And so that's why in this letter she says that difficult decisions must be made very soon. And she also indicated in that letter, that, the sentiment that she's getting from members is that they feel that, the fewer things that they have and doing those fewer things well is really the desire of most members, as opposed to this huge catch-all and trying to do everything. So it does seem like the speaker is trying to give clear indications that this package ultimately is going to have to be pared down. The president has made that clear. Leader Schumer has made that clear. So now it's really up to members to try to figure out what stays and what goes.
So, Nikole, as Congress ramps up its investigation into the January 6th insurrection, former President Trump issued a statement last night on the committee investigating it. It read in part, quote, "The highly partisan Unselect Committee is just a sideshow to distract Americans from massive failures by Biden and the Democrats. What happened to the Capitol would have never happened if the people in charge did their job and looked at the intelligence." Any word, are you hearing it all from lawmakers on the Hill? Any reaction to the president's statement?
Yeah, well, keep in mind, most lawmakers won't be back until this afternoon. And usually, as far as Democrats are concerned, they don't necessarily tend to respond or jump on everything that the former president says or puts out. Same with many Republicans, quite frankly. But look, the Select Committee has made clear that, they are going to follow the facts wherever they lead. We've already seen them issue a number of subpoenas to top former aides of the president, some of whom are engaging with the committee, others who are not. But either way, we've also seen the committee issue a broad swath of requests for documents from the executive branch. And you saw just on Friday, the Biden administration saying, look, we are going to allow these document requests to proceed. We're not going to block this out of executive privilege, which is something the former president has argued, which in essence clears a way for, the National Archives to release documents pertaining to January 6th and the run-up to January 6th, which is of high interest to the committee.
So at a rally in Iowa over the weekend, the former president also said that he never conceded the election. What are we learning about the former president's attempts to undermine the election? Is there new information out there?
Well, we did see that Senate report that came out late last week that detailed, really how far the former president was willing to go to try to undermine and overturn the 2020 election. Most of that report really centered on the former president trying to pressure the Justice Department and justice officials to pursue some of these false election claims. I believe the report found that at least 9 times the former president tried to urge officials in some sort of capacity to try to again, probe or investigate these fraudulent claims in an attempt to try to overturn the election. So much so that one of his own attorneys for the White House, Pat Cipollone, called it a murder-suicide pact, the extent to which the president was willing to go. And this report also detailed an Oval Office meeting that happened in the days leading up to January 6th, where the former president contemplated at one point trying to oust his acting attorney general. And that was after the other attorney general, Bill Barr, had already left. So there was a lot of turmoil within the Department of Justice at that time. Ultimately, DOJ officials and other White House officials kind of talked the president out of it. But, as those who authored this report in the Senate say, really just goes to show how close, in their view, we potentially were to a constitutional crisis.
So to that end, Nikole, as you know, over the weekend, former Trump aide Dan Scavino was reportedly served a subpoena from the House committee. What kind of information could he provide to the committee?
So it's much of the same. I mean, this was part of a group of subpoenas that went out to other former Trump officials, including the former president's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, his former chief strategist, Steve Bannon, as well as another Trump official, Kash Patel. And so, as I mentioned earlier, in the case of Kash Patel and Mark Meadows, we understand that they are engaging with the committee. Steve Bannon, not as much. But in terms of Dan Scavino, really from all of these officials, the committee kind of wants to know the same thing. What types of conversations were they having with the former president prior to January 6th and on January 6th? And they want records from these officials. That was what this deadline was last week. The committee had set a deadline for a series of documents to be turned over, in terms of communication logs, again, what they knew and when they knew it. And so this week, there's now a second deadline for all of these same officials, including Mr. Scavino, to appear for depositions. And so, again, it's unclear if they will cooperate. We do know they've been instructed by the former president's lawyers to not produce any documents, not, produce any testimony pertaining to their duties at the time. But again, we'll have to see kind of how they choose to respond.
All right, Nikole, thank you very much.